While mapping your data processors and wide relations, you may have become aware that some or potentially many of them have transfers to third countries such as China or the US. As you can see in the example here, I currently have two vendors, one that has transfers to China and one that is actually based in the US, that I need to ensure that this transfer is legal and that any personal data transferred is adequately protected even as it crosses borders and other legislations. This assessment is what we all know as a transfer impact assessment, or TIA. I would like to go complete a TIA for my China transfer. So I'm going to jump into the data protection GDPR area of wide relations, where I can go to my transfer impact assessments. As we can already see, we've completed one for the US transfers with the recruitment vendor, and now we want to do the one for China. Adding the name of the TIA, we open up into a questionnaire that will guide you through the process of creating a TIA step by step, taking you in hand and making sure you cover all relevant information for completing the TIA. It will also automatically import information that's mapped elsewhere in the system, such as the locations of the vendors. As we go through the questionnaire, we may occasionally run into questions that we aren't prepared to answer. And as such, we can very easily and quickly create tasks to discuss with IT if we need help with technical implementation of security measures, or look something up in the relevant local legislation or any other task that we might want to follow up in the future for us to be able to complete this TIA at that point. I'm going to say I want to discuss this with IT around the technical implementation of security measures. And I'd like to do this not by next year, but rather in April. Now I'll automatically, with this task, get reminded to do this as I approach the deadline in April. And I have an overview from a tasks page to make sure everything gets done. As we approach the end of the questionnaire, I also need to think about how often do I want to revisit this TIA? Do I want to do it biannually or annually? In this case, I'd like to just say I'll revisit this annually, set a reminder to revisit TIA, and set a due date for March next year. I'll set this to a recurring annual task so that I'll also get reminders in 2026 and 2027 and 2028. It'll automatically continue, and if I ever leave the organization, it can very easily be transferred to someone else. As I create this task, I can now rest easy that once I've at least completed this TIA fully, I'll repeatedly revisit it and make sure it's always up to date. I'm going to save out of this, but I won't approve yet since we're not entirely completed. But from the overview, we can see the US transfer impact assessment has a check mark and was completed on the 25th of March 2025, and thus probably needs to be revisited either in 6 months or 12 months from now. And that's how you work with TIAs and wide relations.